He broke my ribs. 3 words, one wrong number, one text that should have gone to her brother but reached a ghost's phone instead. Now a crime lord with nothing to lose stands between her and a corrupt detective who won't let her go. Love, vengeance, and survival collide when rescue becomes salvation. If you're new here, subscribe and comment your location. Now let's begin. The bathroom door shook again. Clara pressed her back against the cold tile wall, one hand clutched to her ribs, the other gripping her phone. Each breath felt like knives stabbing through her chest. "Open this door, Clara," Derek's voice boomed from the other side. "We need to talk about this." Talk, he wanted to talk. That's what he'd said 15 minutes ago, right before his fist connected with her ribcage. Once, twice, 3 times, she'd lost count after that. Her fingers trembled as she tried to unlock her phone. The screen was cracked. A spiderweb pattern spread across it from when she dropped it during the fight. She could barely see the numbers through her tears. She had to call Ben. Her brother would come. Ben always came. But her vision was blurry. The pain made it hard to focus. She pulled up her messages and found what she thought was Ben's contact. Her thumb hovered over the screen. "I'm giving you 10 seconds, Derek shouted. Something heavy hit the door. He was going to break it down. 10, 9, 8. Clara typed fast, her fingers shaking so badly she had to delete and retype twice. "Help me, please. He broke my ribs. I'm locked in the bathroom. 2417 Pine Street, apartment 8C, hurry." She hit send without checking the number. Another crash against the door. The frame cracked. 765. Her phone buzzed. A response, thank God. But it wasn't Ben's usual emoji or quick, "On my way, bro." It was from an unknown number. "Who is this? How did you get this number?" Clara's heart sank. Wrong number. She'd texted the wrong person. Her hands were shaking too hard. She must have typed a digit wrong. 4-3. She started typing again, desperate. "Please, I sent this to wrong number, but please help me. My fiance is trying to kill me. Call 911, please." The reply came within seconds. "Your fiance is police." "How did they know?" Clara typed back, her thumbs flying across the cracked screen. "Yes, detective, please help." The door frame splintered. Derek's shoulder appeared through a gap in the wood. 2-1. Her phone lit up with a new message. Just 4 words, but something about them made her believe. "I'm on my way." Clara didn't know who was coming, but she knew she had maybe 5 minutes before Derek broke through completely. She looked around the bathroom for anything to use as a weapon, a hair dryer, a can of hairspray, nothing that would stop a man Derek's size. "You're making this worse for yourself," Derek said, his voice dropping to that scary calm tone he used before things got really bad. "I was just trying to teach you a lesson. You embarrassed me in front of my partner today, questioning my call on that traffic stop." Clara wanted to scream. She'd quietly asked him why he'd pulled over a black teenager for a broken taillight when 3 other cars with worse violations had passed by. That was it. One question. And he'd held it in all day, brought it home, and exploded the moment they walked through the door. The door cracked further. Derek's face appeared in the gap, red and sweating. "I love you, baby," he said, and that made it worse somehow. "But you need to learn respect." Clara slid down the wall, clutching her phone. Every breath was agony. She'd dealt with broken ribs in the ER before. She knew at least 2 were cracked, maybe 3. If one punctured her lung, she could die right here. 4 minutes had passed since that text. No sirens, no help. Then she heard it. Not sirens, something else. Car doors slamming, multiple vehicles, heavy footsteps in the hallway outside the apartment. Derek heard it too. He stopped attacking the door and went quiet. What the hell? The apartment's front door exploded inward with a sound like a bomb going off. Clara heard men shouting, "Professional, military, not police. Contact 1 male armed. Secure the perimeter." Find the woman. Derek's face disappeared from the gap in the bathroom door. She heard him yelling, I'm a cop. I'm a Seattle PD detective. Stand down. A new voice cut through the chaos. Deep, cold, absolutely in control. I don't care if you're the mayor. Where is she? Who the hell are you people? You can't just... The sound of a struggle, something hitting the floor, Derek crying out in pain. Last chance, that cold voice said. The woman where? Bathroom, Derek gasped. She's in the bathroom. Look, this is a domestic situation. I'm handling it. You need to leave before I call this in. Silence, then footsteps approaching the bathroom door. A gentle knock. Ma'am, are you hurt? I'm here to help. Clara didn't know what to do. These weren't police, but they'd stopped Derek, and that voice from her texts had promised to come. Could this be them? I'm hurt, she managed to say, though it came out as barely a whisper. Broken ribs, can't move well. I'm going to open the door, don't be afraid. The door opened slowly, not broken down, just opened. Someone had unlocked it from her side somehow. A man stepped in, tall, maybe mid-30s, dark hair, expensive suit that looked wrong for a rescue mission. But his eyes were what caught her, gray, sharp, and looking at her with an intensity that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. You texted me, he said. It wasn't a question. Clara nodded. I got the number wrong. I meant to text my brother. You texted my sister's number. He knelt beside her, his movements careful. She died 3 years ago. I kept the phone active because I couldn't let go, and tonight you reached out to a dead woman's phone and asked for help. I'm sorry, Clara said, though she didn't know what she was apologizing for. Don't be, he gestured to someone in the doorway. James, get the doctor up here, now. A younger man in tactical gear appeared. Boss, the cop is asking questions. What do you want us to do with him? The man in the suit stood up. His expression changed. The gentle concern vanished, replaced by something that made Clara's blood run cold even though it wasn't directed at her. Bring him to the living room. I want to have a conversation with the detective. He looked back down at Clara. My name is Adrian. You're safe now. My doctor will take care of you. Do you trust me? It was a strange question. She didn't know him, but he'd come when she called, and right now that was enough. Yes. Adrian nodded. Good, stay here. I'll be right back. He walked out, and Clara heard him enter the living room. Derek started talking immediately. Listen, I don't know who you think you are, but I'm a decorated police officer. That woman in there is mentally unstable. She attacked me, and I was defending myself. You've just committed about 6 felonies by breaking into my home. Your home? Adrian's voice was so cold it could freeze water. This apartment is leased under Clara Reed's name. You moved in 3 months ago. So let's start with the truth, Detective Vane. How did he know Derek's name? How did he know about the lease? Are you threatening a police officer? No, Adrian's voice was calm, too calm. I'm explaining reality to a man who beats women. You see, detective, I know who you are. I know about the 3 excessive force complaints buried in your file. I know about the evidence you planted on Marcus Johnson last year. I know about the money you take from the Russian crew on the docks to look the other way. Silence, then Derek, his voice shaking. You can't prove any of that. I don't need to prove it. I'm not a court of law. A pause. Here's what's going to happen. You put your hands on a woman tonight. You broke her ribs. You were going to do worse. So I'm going to make sure you never put your hands on anyone again. What are you? No, wait. Clara heard Derek scream, not a yell, a scream of pure agony. It went on for 10 seconds, 20, then stopped abruptly. Adrian walked back into the bathroom. There was blood on his sleeve. He didn't seem to notice or care. He won't bother you again, he said simply. An older man in a white coat rushed past Adrian and knelt beside Clara. Hello, dear. I'm Dr. Paul Chen. I'm going to check your injuries. This might hurt a bit. The doctor was gentle but thorough. He pressed carefully around her ribcage, asked her to breathe to rate her pain. Through it all, Adrian stood in the doorway, watching. 3 broken ribs, Dr. Chen finally said. No punctured lung, thank God, but she needs rest and monitoring. Moving her will be painful but necessary. Take her to the estate, Adrian said. Set up a room on the ground floor so she doesn't have to deal with stairs. Wait, Clara said. I can't just leave. I need to file a police report, press charges. I need to. No, Adrian's voice was firm. You can't go to the police. Your fiance is a detective with friends in the department. By now, he's already called this in as a domestic disturbance where you attacked him. His injuries will back up his story. What injuries? Clara asked. His hands are broken, Adrian said flatly. Both of them, every finger. He'll never hold a gun again. Never pass a physical exam. His career is over. Clara should have been horrified, should have protested, but all she felt was relief. If you try to report this, Adrian continued, they'll arrest you. They'll say you're unstable, and Derek will make sure you disappear into the system. I've seen it happen before. So what do I do? You come with me, you heal, and we figure out the next steps together. He paused. I know this is a lot to take in. You don't know me. You have no reason to trust me, but I'm offering you safety, real safety, and time to recover without looking over your shoulder. Dr. Chen packed up his bag. She needs to decide quickly. Moving her will be easier if we do it soon, before the shock wears off and the real pain sets in. Clara looked at Adrian, really looked at him. There was something in his eyes, a sadness, a weight. This wasn't just about her. This was about his sister, the one whose phone number Clara had accidentally texted. Okay, she said, I'll come with you. Adrian's expression softened just slightly. James, Daniel, get a stretcher. Be gentle with her. 2 men came in with a proper medical stretcher. They transferred Clara onto it with practiced ease, as if they'd done this 100 times before. Maybe they had. As they carried her through the apartment, Clara saw Derek on the floor. His hands were wrapped in bloody towels. His face was pale. He looked at her with pure hatred. You'll regret this, Clara, he said through gritted teeth. You have no idea what you've just done. Adrian stopped walking. He turned to Derek with an expression that made the detective shrink back. If you ever speak her name again, Adrian said quietly, I'll come back and finish what I started. Are we clear? Derek said nothing, just stared at the floor. They carried Clara down the stairs and into a waiting SUV. Black, expensive, the kind of vehicle that cost more than she made in a year. Dr. Chen got in beside her. Adrian took the front passenger seat. Where are we going? Clara asked as they pulled away from her apartment building. Somewhere safe, Adrian said. Somewhere Derek and his friends can't reach you. The SUV drove through Seattle's nighttime streets. Clara watched the city pass by through tinted windows. Every bump in the road sent pain shooting through her ribs. Dr. Chen gave her something for the pain, a pill that made everything soft around the edges. Your sister, Clara said, her voice drowsy. The one whose number I texted. What was her name? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Elena. That's beautiful. She was beautiful and strong like you. He turned to look at her. She called me one night 3 years ago, said she needed help. Her boyfriend was hurting her. I was in a meeting. I told her I'd call her back in an hour. Clara's heart clenched. She knew where this was going. By the time I got there, Adrian continued, his voice hollow, she was already gone. He'd beaten her to death. Took him 45 minutes. I was an hour late. I'm sorry, Clara whispered. So when I saw a call for help come through on her number tonight, Adrian said, I knew I couldn't be late again. I don't believe in God, but I believe Elena sent you to me. Gave me a second chance to do what I failed to do for her. The pain medication was pulling Clara under. Her last thought before sleep took her was that she'd been saved by a ghost. by a dead woman reaching back from beyond to catch another falling soul. When she woke, everything was different. The room was huge. Not hospital sterile, but not quite a bedroom either. Medical equipment stood against one wall. A huge window showed a garden lit by soft lights. The bed she lay in was the most comfortable thing she'd ever felt. Dr. Chen appeared beside her. "Good morning, how's the pain?" "Manageable," Clara said. It was still there, sharp and present, but not the screaming agony from last night. "You've been asleep for 14 hours. Your body needed it." He checked her vitals, adjusted her IV. "Adrian has asked to speak with you when you're ready." "Where am I?" "Adrian's estate, about 30 miles outside the city. Very private, very secure." As if summoned by his name, Adrian appeared in the doorway. He changed from last night's blood-stained suit into dark slacks and a white shirt. He looked younger in the morning light. Less like a vengeful angel and more like a man. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Like I got hit by a truck, but alive." Clara struggled to sit up. Adrian moved to help her, adjusting the bed so she could recline comfortably. "I need to call my brother, Ben. He'll be worried." "Already done. I had one of my people contact him. Told him you were safe and needed some time away. He thinks you're at a friend's cabin recovering from the attack. He wanted to come see you, but I explained you needed space." "You had no right." "You're right, I didn't." Adrian pulled up a chair beside her bed. "But if your brother came here, he'd have questions I couldn't answer, and those questions would put him in danger." "What kind of danger?" Adrian studied her for a moment as if deciding how much to tell her. "You asked me last night who I was. I told you my name, but not what I do. The truth is, I run most of the organized crime in Seattle. Drugs, gambling, protection. If the criminals in this city have a boss, it's me." Clara's mouth went dry. "You're a criminal." "Yes, I inherited my father's business when I was 23. Spent the last 12 years building it into something more organized, less violent, but still very much illegal." He leaned forward. "I'm telling you this because you deserve to know who saved you, and because you need to understand why you can't go back to your old life yet." "What do you mean?" "Derek filed a report last night. Said you attacked him during an argument. Said you're mentally unstable and dangerous. He's got 3 other officers backing his story. If you go back, they'll arrest you. And once you're in custody, Derek will make sure you never make it to trial." Clara felt tears burning her eyes. "So I'm a prisoner here?" "No, you're a guest. You can leave whenever you want. I'll give you money, a new identity, a plane ticket to anywhere in the world. But you can't go back to Seattle, not as Clara Reed. That woman is wanted for assault on a police officer." "This is insane." "I know," Adrian's voice was gentle. "I know this isn't fair, but fair stopped mattering the moment Derek put his hands on you. Now we deal with reality." Dr. Chen cleared his throat. "She needs rest. This conversation can continue later." Adrian stood. "Of course, I'll let you recover. If you need anything, there's a call button by your bed. Someone will come immediately." He started to leave, then paused at the door. "For what it's worth, I am sorry. Sorry that you're in this situation. Sorry that the world is cruel enough to require men like me to exist. But I'm not sorry I saved you." Then he was gone. Clara lay back against the pillows, her mind spinning. 24 hours ago, she'd been a trauma nurse planning her wedding. Now she was a fugitive hiding in a crime lord's mansion. Her fiance was a monster. Her name was Mud. Her life was over. She started to cry, and once she started, she couldn't stop. Great heaving sobs that made her broken ribs scream in protest. But she couldn't help it. Everything she'd built, everything she'd worked for was gone. A hand touched her shoulder. Clara looked up to see a woman standing beside her bed. She was maybe 50, with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a bun. "I'm Mercy," the woman said softly. "I manage Adrian's household. I heard you crying." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." Hush, you cry all you need to. Lord knows you've earned it. Mercy sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to jostle Clara. I know you're scared. I know this all seems like too much, but you're safe here. Adrian may be a lot of things, but he protects what's his. I'm not his. No, but you're his responsibility now, and Adrian takes his responsibility seriously. Mercy pulled a tissue from her pocket and dabbed at Clara's tears. Let me tell you something about the man who saved you. When his sister died, something broke in him. He became harder, colder, but also more careful, more protective of the people in his life. You texted a dead woman's phone and got a second chance because Adrian couldn't save her. He won't let you down. He's a criminal. Yes, and you're a woman who just escaped death. Neither of you is perfect, but you're both here and that's what matters. Mercy stood. I'm going to bring you some soup, real food, not hospital garbage, and then you're going to rest. Tomorrow you can worry about the future. Today you just survive. Clara nodded, too exhausted to argue. Over the next week, she started to heal. Dr. Chen visited twice daily. Mercy brought meals and sat with her while she ate, and Adrian came every evening, usually around 8, to check on her. They didn't talk about Derek or the police or her ruined life. Instead, they talked about small things, books they'd read, movies they'd seen. Clara learned that Adrian spoke 4 languages, that he'd studied architecture in college before his father died, that he hated coffee but drank it anyway because it helped him stay sharp. And slowly, without meaning to, Clara started to feel safe. On the 8th day, she was strong enough to walk around. Mercy helped her into a robe and supported her as she explored the room. There was a private bathroom with a tub big enough for 3 people, a sitting area with a fireplace, and that massive window overlooking the garden. Can I go outside? Clara asked. Of course, let me get you some proper clothes first. Mercy returned with soft pants and a loose sweater that didn't press against Clara's healing ribs. She helped Clara dress, then guided her through the mansion. It was massive, high ceilings, original art on the walls, but it didn't feel cold or empty. There were fresh flowers in vases, books scattered on tables, signs of life. They stepped out into the garden. The morning air was crisp and clean. Clara took a deep breath, ignoring the twinge in her ribs. Beautiful, isn't it? A voice said. Clara turned to see Adrian standing by a fountain. He was dressed casually in jeans and a dark sweater. It was the first time she'd seen him in anything other than a suit. It's incredible, Clara said. Elena designed it. Adrian walked over to them. Before she died, she was studying landscape architecture. She drew up plans for this garden. I had it built after she was gone, a way to keep her close. Clara looked at the carefully arranged paths, the flowering plants, the small pond with koi swimming lazily. She had talent. She did. Adrian gestured to a bench near the pond. Want to sit? Mercy helped Clara settle onto the bench, then excused herself, leaving them alone. I need to tell you something, Adrian said once Mercy was gone. Derek's getting desperate. He's been asking questions about you, putting out feelers. He knows someone took you and he's trying to figure out who. Clara's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means he's not letting this go. I thought maybe he'd accept his broken hands as punishment and move on, but he's angrier than I expected, more obsessed. What do I do? You stay here, you stay safe, and you let me handle Derek. Adrian's voice hardened. I've dealt with men like him before, men who can't accept that they've lost. He'll make a move eventually, and when he does, I'll be ready. I don't want anyone else to get hurt because of me. Adrian turned to look at her fully. Clara, you didn't cause this. Derek did. His choices led us here, not yours. They sat in silence for a while, watching the koi swim in circles. Why are you doing all this? Clara finally asked. I know you said it's about your sister, but this is more than just giving me a safe place to recover. You're protecting me like I'm family. Adrian was quiet for so long Clara thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said, "When Alina died, I swore I'd never let it happen again. Never stand by while someone suffered. It's why I changed how I run my business. Less violence, more rules. I can't stop being a criminal, but I can choose what kind of criminal to be." "You could stop, go legitimate." "No, I couldn't," he smiled sadly. "I've done too much, hurt too many people, made too many enemies. The moment I try to go straight, someone from my past would come for me. This is my life. I accepted that a long time ago." "That's sad." "Maybe, but it's also true." He stood up. "Come on, I want to show you something." He helped Clara to her feet and led her deeper into the garden. At the far end, hidden behind a wall of climbing roses, was a small greenhouse. Inside, dozens of orchids bloomed in a riot of colors: purple, white, yellow, pink. The air was warm and humid and smelled like earth and flowers. "Alina loved orchids," Adrian said. "She said they were survivors, delicate-looking but actually tough as hell. They could grow anywhere if you gave them the right conditions." He stopped in front of a white orchid with purple spots. This was her favorite. It's called a phalaenopsis. The blooms last for months if you care for them properly. Clara touched the petals gently. "It's beautiful. I come here when I need to think. When things get too heavy, it helps me remember why I do what I do." He looked at Clara. "You remind me of these flowers, delicate-looking but stronger than anyone gives you credit for." "I don't feel strong, I feel broken. Broken things heal, and sometimes they're stronger in the broken places." Adrian picked up a small pot with a young orchid plant. "This one's just starting to bloom. Would you like it for your room?" Clara took the pot carefully. "Thank you." They walked back to the mansion together. At the door to Clara's room, Adrian paused. "I know this situation isn't ideal. I know you didn't choose any of this. But I want you to know that you're not alone. Whatever happens next, we face it together." Before Clara could respond, a man appeared at the end of the hallway. One of Adrian's security team. He looked worried. "Boss, we have a problem." Adrian's entire demeanor changed in an instant. The gentle man who'd been showing her flowers vanished, replaced by the cold criminal from that first night. "What kind of problem?" "Derek Vane just made contact with the Volkov crew." Adrian's jaw tightened. "When?" "2 hours ago. One of our informants at the docks saw them meeting. Derek was in a cast, both hands, but he was there talking to Dmitry Volkov himself." "Do we know what they discussed?" "Not yet, but if Derek's going to the Russians, it's not for a social call." Adrian nodded slowly. "Double the security on the estate. I want eyes on every approach, and find out what Derek offered them." "Yes, sir." The man left. Adrian turned back to Clara, and she could see him trying to shift back to the gentler version of himself. But the mask didn't quite fit anymore. "What does this mean?" Clara asked, though she was afraid she already knew. "It means Derek just declared war. The Russians were coming. That's what James told Adrian 3 days later." Clara overheard them talking in the hallway outside her room. "Dmitry wants a meeting," James said. "Says Derek offered him something valuable. Information about your operations, access to police files, in exchange for your head and the girl." Clara pressed herself against the door, her heart pounding. Her ribs still ached, but the pain was duller now, more of a constant throb than the sharp agony from before. "Tell Dmitry I'll meet him. Neutral ground, the warehouse on 5th. Adrian's voice was calm, too calm. "That's a trap, boss. You know it is." "Of course it is. But we need to know what Derek told them, and we need to send a message that I'm not hiding." Footsteps moved away down the hall. Clara quickly stepped back from the door and sat on her bed, pretending to read the book Mercy had brought her. But her hands were shaking. That night, Adrian didn't come for his usual evening visit. Clara ate dinner alone, pushing food around her plate while Mercy watched with worried eyes. "He'll be fine," Mercy said. though she didn't sound convinced. Adrian survived worse than the Volkov crew. Why do they hate him? Because Adrian has rules. He doesn't deal drugs near schools, doesn't allow human trafficking in his territory, doesn't target civilians. The Russians think rules are weakness. They've been trying to move into Seattle for years, but Adrian keeps pushing them back. And now Derek's given them an excuse to push harder. Mercy nodded. Your detective made a deal with the devil, but he doesn't understand that Adrian is something worse than the devil. He's a man with nothing left to lose. Clara thought about that, about Adrian's sister, about the garden he'd built for a dead woman, about the way he looked at Clara sometimes, like she was a ghost he was trying to save. I need to leave, Clara said suddenly. If I'm gone, Derek has no leverage. The Russians have no reason to come after Adrian. Where would you go? Derek's turned the entire Seattle police force against you. You're wanted for assault. Then I'll go somewhere else. Another city, another country. Adrian said he could give me a new identity. And you think Adrian would let you go now? When you're in danger, Mercy shook her head. Child, you don't understand. Adrian doesn't save people and then abandon them. It's not in his nature. Then his nature is going to get him killed. Mercy stood up, collecting the dinner plates. Maybe, or maybe you're the reason he'll finally have something worth surviving for. She left before Clara could ask what she meant. Clara couldn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the estate, footsteps in the hallway, voices outside, the distant sound of cars arriving and leaving. At 2 in the morning, her door opened. Clara sat up quickly, ignoring the protest from her ribs. Adrian stood in the doorway. He looked exhausted. There was blood on his collar. Are you hurt? Clara asked. Not my blood. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. The meeting with Dmitri went about as well as expected. What happened? Adrian walked to the window, looking out at the dark garden. Derek told them everything. My supply routes, my financial setup, the names of my people inside the police department, everything he learned while we were together. Clara felt sick. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. Adrian turned to face her. Dmitri made me an offer. Give you up and they'll leave my operations alone. Keep you and they come for both of us. The room felt very cold suddenly. What did you say? I told him to go to hell. Adrian smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then James shot out the lights and we fought our way out. Lost 2 men. Killed 5 of theirs. It's officially a war now. You should have given me up. No. Adrian, I'm not worth this. I'm not worth your men dying. He crossed the room in 3 quick strides and knelt beside her bed, grabbing her hands. His grip was tight, desperate. Listen to me. When Alina called that night, I made a choice. I chose my meeting over her life. I chose business over family, and she died alone and afraid because I wasn't there. His voice cracked. I won't make that choice again, ever. You are worth this. You are worth everything. Clara felt tears sliding down her cheeks. I didn't ask to be saved. I know, but I asked to save you. I asked for a second chance, and I got it when you texted that number. He released her hands and stood up. I have a plan. I'm sending you away tomorrow, private jet to London. New identity, new life, enough money to start over. No. Adrian blinked. What? I said no. Clara swung her legs out of bed, standing to face him. Her ribs screamed in protest, but she ignored them. I'm not running, not again. I ran from Derek for months before it got bad, made excuses, told myself it would get better, and it just got worse. I'm done running. This is different. These are professional killers. And you're what? An accountant. Clara stepped closer to him. You saved my life. You gave me a place to heal. You protected me when no one else would. I'm not repaying that by abandoning you when things get hard. You don't understand what you're saying. I understand perfectly. Derek wants me dead. The Russians want you dead, so we face them together. We end this together. She met his eyes. I'm a trauma nurse. I've seen violence. I've treated gunshot wounds and stabbed victims and people beaten within an inch of their lives. I'm not some delicate flower who needs to be hidden away. Adrian stared at her for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, but genuine. You're insane. Probably, but I'm also right. He shook his head, but he was smiling. Alina would have liked you. She was stubborn too. Tell me the real plan. Not the one where you ship me off to safety. The one where we actually deal with this. Adrian was quiet for a moment, studying her face. Then he nodded. All right, but you follow my lead. You do exactly what I say when I say it. Agreed. Agreed. The Russians will come here. Dmitri's not patient enough for a long game. He'll hit the estate within the next few days. He thinks he has the advantage because Derek gave him intelligence on our security systems. Does he? No, because I fed Derek false information months ago. I suspected he was dirty, so I made sure anything he learned about my operations was wrong. The security layout he gave the Russians is from 3 years ago. We've completely redesigned it since then. Clara felt a smile tugging at her lips. So they'll walk into a trap. Exactly, but it's still going to be dangerous, very dangerous, and I need you to be ready to run if things go wrong. Where's Derek in all this? Derek will come with them. He wants to see you suffer, wants to prove he's still in control. Adrian's expression darkened. He won't leave this estate alive. The certainty in his voice should have scared her, should have made her recoil, but instead Clara felt something else. Relief, justice, the knowledge that Derek would finally pay for what he'd done. When, she asked. Tomorrow night, maybe the night after. Dmitri's gathering his men. We have spotters watching his operation. We'll know when they move. Clara nodded. Then we should get ready. Adrian reached out and touched her cheek gently. You're sure about this? Really sure? Once we cross this line, there's no going back to your old life. My old life ended when Derek broke my ribs. I'm not going back, only forward. Then get some rest. Tomorrow we prepare for war. He left and Clara climbed back into bed, but she didn't sleep. Instead, she thought about everything that had led her here, meeting Derek at a hospital fundraiser 2 years ago, his charm, his confidence, the way he'd swept her off her feet. The first time he'd grabbed her arm too hard, the first time he'd called her stupid, the slow escalation from emotional abuse to physical violence. She'd made excuses. He was stressed from work. She'd provoked him. It would get better after they got married. But it never would have gotten better. Men like Derek didn't change. They just got worse. And now he'd allied with criminals to hunt her down, to prove he owned her, to punish her for escaping. Clara touched her ribs gently. They were healing. In another week, they'd be almost normal. But the scars Derek left on her soul would take longer, maybe forever. Unless she ended this. Unless she took back her power and made sure Derek could never hurt anyone again. The next day, the estate transformed. Men in tactical gear appeared on every floor. James and Daniel set up equipment in what looked like a command center. Mercy helped Clara move to a more secure room in the center of the mansion, with no windows and reinforced walls. Adrian was everywhere, directing his people, checking weapons, reviewing plans. He was in full commander mode now. No trace of the gentle man who'd shown her his sister's garden. Around noon, he came to Clara's new room carrying a small black case. I need to show you something, he said. He opened the case. Inside was a handgun, small, silver, deadly. Do you know how to use one of these? Clara shook her head. I've never touched a gun. Then you're going to learn now. He picked up the weapon and showed her how to hold it, how to check if it was loaded, how to aim, how to fire. They went to a shooting range in the basement of the estate. For 2 hours, Adrian taught her the basics. By the end, Clara could hit a target at 15 feet. Not perfectly, but well enough. If someone comes through your door and it's not me or one of my people, you shoot them, Adrian said. Don't hesitate. Don't warn them, just shoot. Okay. He handed her the gun and a spare magazine. Keep this with you at all times, and Clara, if it comes down to you or them, you choose you, always. That night the tension in the estate was thick enough to cut. Everyone was on edge, waiting for the attack that could come at any moment. Clara sat in her room, the gun in her lap, trying to read but unable to focus on the words. Every sound made her jump. Every footstep in the hallway made her heart race. At midnight, Adrian knocked on her door. "They're here," he said quietly. "Dimitri's men just cut the power to the neighborhood. They'll hit us in the next 30 minutes. Clara stood up, tucking the gun into the waistband of her pants. "What do I do?" "You stay in this room. The door is reinforced steel. The walls are bulletproof. You'll be safe here." He pulled out his own weapon and checked it. "James will be right outside. If anything happens to me, he'll get you out through the tunnels." Tunnels? My father was paranoid, had escape routes built throughout the estate. James knows them all. Adrian started to leave, then turned back. "Clara, if I don't make it." "Don't say that." "If I don't make it, there's an envelope in the safe in my office. Combination is Alina's birthday. April 15th, 1995. 4/15/95. Inside is everything you need. New identity, bank accounts, contacts who can help you disappear." "Adrian, promise me you'll run if it goes wrong. Promise me you'll survive." Clara crossed the room and grabbed his face with both hands. "We both survive. That's the only acceptable outcome." He smiled, sad and beautiful. Then he kissed her forehead and was gone. Clara locked the door behind him and sat on the bed, gun in hand, waiting. The first explosion came 10 minutes later. The entire room shook. Alarms started blaring. Then gunfire, lots of gunfire. Clara's medical training kicked in. She started breathing slowly, forcing her heart rate down. Panic wouldn't help. She needed to stay calm, stay ready. More explosions, closer this time. The lights flickered but stayed on. Adrian must have backup generators. Then the gunfire got really intense. It sounded like a war zone. Clara thought about all those men out there fighting, dying, because she'd texted the wrong number. No, because Derek was a monster who couldn't accept losing. Footsteps in the hallway, running. Someone shouted in Russian. Clara raised her gun, pointing it at the door with shaking hands. A voice outside. "Clara, it's James, open up." She recognized James's voice, but Adrian had warned her. In war, people lied, people pretended. "What's the password?" she called out. Adrian had given her one before he left. "Orchid, the password is Orchid. Now open the damn door, we're compromised." Clara unlocked the door. James burst in, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Behind him came Daniel and another man she didn't recognize. "We need to move," James said. "They breached the east wing. They're inside." "Where's Adrian?" "Fighting on the second floor. He sent us to get you out." "I'm not leaving without him." "You don't have a choice. We have orders." James grabbed her arm. "Come on." They ran through the hallway. Clara could hear fighting everywhere. Gunshots, screams, the smell of smoke. They reached a door hidden behind a bookshelf. James pulled it open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down. "Go," he shouted. Clara started down the stairs. Behind her, Daniel and the other man provided cover, firing back at pursuers Clara couldn't see. The tunnel was dark and narrow. Emergency lights provided just enough illumination to see. They ran for what felt like forever, but was probably only 2 minutes. Then they heard it, a massive explosion from above. The tunnel shook, dust rained down from the ceiling. "What was that?" Clara gasped. "Adrian's burning the estate," James said grimly. "If we can't hold it, no one gets it." They kept running. The tunnel branched several times, but James seemed to know exactly where he was going. Finally, they reached a ladder leading up to a trapdoor. James climbed up first, pushed open the trapdoor and looked around. Clear move. They emerged in a small garage a half-mile from the estate. 3 cars waited, engines running. More of Adrian's people stood guard. "Get her in the car," James told Daniel. "Take her to the safe house in Tacoma." "What about Adrian?" Clara demanded. "He knows where the safe house is. If he makes it out, he'll meet us there." "If..." James looked at her with haunted eyes. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but right now my job is to save you. That's what the boss ordered, so please get in the car." Clara wanted to argue, wanted to run back to the burning estate and find Adrian. But she could hear sirens now, police and fire trucks responding to the explosions. She got in the car. Daniel drove fast, taking back roads and shortcuts. Clara watched through the rear window as smoke rose into the night sky from the direction of Adrian's estate. "He'll be okay," Daniel said, though he sounded like he was trying to convince himself. "Boss always makes it out." They arrived at the safe house 40 minutes later. It was a small apartment building in a rundown neighborhood, not what Clara expected. "Hiding in plain sight," Daniel explained. "No one looks for a crime lord in a place like this." They went to apartment 3B. Inside was basic furniture and supplies. Medical equipment in one corner, weapons in another, food and water for weeks. Clara sat on the couch, still holding the gun Adrian had given her. James paced by the window, phone pressed to his ear, trying to reach someone. "Come on, pick up," he muttered. "Pick up, boss." An hour passed, then 2, no word from Adrian. Clara's mind raced through worst-case scenarios. Adrian dead, Adrian captured, Adrian bleeding out in the ruins of his estate. At 3 in the morning, James's phone finally rang. He answered it instantly. "Boss, is that you? Are you?" "Yes, she's safe. We're at the Tacoma location. Are you hurt? How bad?" Clara leapt to her feet. "Is he alive?" James nodded, relief flooding his face. "He's alive, hurt but alive. He's coming here." 20 minutes later, a car pulled up outside. Clara ran to the window and saw Adrian climbing out of the passenger seat. He was limping. His shirt was soaked with blood. She ran downstairs and met him at the building entrance. He looked like hell, ash on his face, blood everywhere, but he was smiling. "You're okay," he said, touching her face like he couldn't believe she was real. "You're bleeding." "Just a scratch. Well, maybe more than a scratch. Took a bullet to the side, but I've had worse." Clara's nurse training took over. "Get inside, now, I need to look at that." They got him upstairs and onto the couch. Clara cut away his shirt and found the wound. The bullet had gone clean through, missing anything vital. Lucky, so incredibly lucky. "I need supplies," she told James. "Medical kits in the closet." Clara worked fast, cleaning the wound, checking for debris, packing it with gauze. Adrian watched her the whole time, his eyes never leaving her face. "We did it," he said. "Dimitri's dead, most of his crew too, and Derek." "What about Derek?" "He was there, came in with the second wave, thought he'd watch me die." Adrian's smile was cold. "James found him trying to escape through the garden, Elena's garden." "Where is he now?" "Dead. James put 3 bullets in him, 1 for each of your broken ribs." Clara should have felt something, horror, guilt, relief, but she just felt numb. "It's over," she whispered. "Not quite." Adrian winced as Clara tied off the bandage. "The estate's gone, most of my resources. The police are going to investigate the explosion. They'll find bodies, Russian mobsters and dirty cops among them. This is going to be a mess." "What do we do?" Adrian caught her hand. "We run together. I have money in offshore accounts. Contacts in Europe. We can disappear, start over." "Both of us?" "Both of us." He pulled her closer, ignoring the pain it must have caused him. "I told you, we face this together. That means the aftermath too." Clara looked around the dingy apartment. At James and Daniel, who'd risked their lives to save her. At Adrian, bleeding and exhausted but alive. "Okay," she said, "where do we go?" "I know a place, a villa in Italy, small town on the coast, quiet, safe. We can lay low there while things settle down here." "Italy?" Clara repeated. A week ago she'd been a nurse in Seattle planning her wedding. Now she was about to flee to Italy with a crime lord. Her life had become completely insane. But somehow it felt right. "There's just one thing I need to do first," Adrian said. He pulled something from his pocket, a small black box. Clara's heart stopped. "Adrian, what are you?" "Relax, it's not what you think." He opened the box. Inside was a necklace, a simple silver chain with a single pendant, an orchid delicately crafted in white gold with tiny purple sapphires. "This was Alina's," Adrian said quietly. "The only piece of jewelry she owned that our father didn't buy her. She saved up for months to get it, wore it every day." He lifted the necklace from the box. "I want you to have it." "I can't take your sister's necklace." "She would have wanted you to have it. You're like her, strong, stubborn, refusing to be a victim." He fastened the necklace around Clara's throat. The orchid pendant settled right above her heart. "Wear it. Remember that survivors help survivors." Clara touched the pendant, feeling the delicate metalwork. "Thank you." "We should move," James interrupted from the window. "Police scanner says they're expanding their search radius. They'll be combing this area soon." Adrian nodded. "Get the car ready. We leave in 10 minutes." James and Daniel went to prepare the vehicle. Clara helped Adrian stand, supporting him as they made their way downstairs. The drive to the private airfield took an hour. By the time they arrived, dawn was breaking over Seattle. Clara looked back at the city one last time. Somewhere out there was her old apartment, her old job, her old life. All of it was gone now, and strangely she didn't feel sad about it. The private jet was small but luxurious. Adrian's pilot, a woman named Lucy, helped them aboard. "Good to see you alive, boss," Lucy said. "Good to be alive. Can you get us to Rome without filing a flight plan?" "For you, of course." They took off just as the sun fully cleared the horizon. Clara watched Seattle disappear below them, replaced by clouds and then open sky. Adrian sat beside her, his wounded side carefully bandaged. He looked exhausted but peaceful. "Tell me about Italy," Clara said. "The villa's been in my family for 3 generations. My grandfather bought it after World War II. It's in a town called Positano, cliffs overlooking the Mediterranean, tiny streets, good food. No one there knows who I am or what I do. We can just be normal." "You think we can pull off normal?" Adrian laughed, then winced. "Probably not, but we can try." Clara leaned against him carefully, mindful of his injury. "What happens after Italy, after things cool down here?" "I don't know. That's the first time I've been able to say that in years." He stroked her hair gently. "I've spent my whole adult life planning, scheming, always 3 moves ahead, but right now I have no idea what happens next, and it's terrifying, but also kind of wonderful." They flew in comfortable silence for a while. Clara dozed off, exhausted from the stress and fear of the past few hours. She woke to Lucy, announcing their descent into Rome. Adrian was already awake, looking out the window at the Italian countryside below. "We're here," he said softly. They landed at a small private airport outside Rome. A car waited for them. An old Mercedes driven by a man named Paul who greeted Adrian in rapid Italian. The drive to Positano took several hours. Clara watched the landscape change from urban to rural to coastal. The Mediterranean sparkled in the afternoon sun. Finally, they pulled up to a villa perched on a cliff. White stone, blue shutters, flowers everywhere. It looked like something from a dream. "Welcome home," Adrian said. Over the next few days, Clara settled into the villa. She changed Adrian's bandages twice daily, monitoring the wound for infection. It was healing cleanly. He'd be fine. They fell into a routine. Mornings on the terrace overlooking the sea, afternoons exploring the village, evenings cooking together in the villa's large kitchen. It was the most peace Clara had felt in years. A week after they arrived, Clara's phone buzzed. A news alert. Multiple deaths in Seattle gang war. Corrupt detective among the dead. She showed it to Adrian. He read it carefully. They're calling it a gang war. Derek's being painted as a hero who died trying to stop it. He handed the phone back. The police department is burying the truth. Does it matter anymore? No, I suppose it doesn't. Adrian pulled her close. We're out. That life is over. But Clara could see it in his eyes, the restlessness, the need to do something. Adrian wasn't built for retirement. 2 weeks later, he got a call. He took it on the terrace, speaking in low tones. When he came back inside, his expression had changed. What is it? Clara asked. That was Marcus, one of my people who survived the estate attack. He says the power vacuum in Seattle is causing chaos. The Russians are gone, but now smaller crews are fighting over territory. Civilians are getting hurt. Clara understood. You want to go back. Not to take over, never that, but maybe to help broker peace, set up some kind of agreement between the crews, make sure things don't spiral into a bloodbath. That's dangerous. I know, which is why I'm asking if you're okay with it. This is your life too now. You get a say. Clara thought about Derek and how he'd controlled every aspect of her existence, how she'd lost herself trying to please him. She'd promised herself she'd never let that happen again. But this wasn't control. This was partnership. Adrian asking her opinion because he valued it. How long would you be gone? A week, maybe 2. I'd leave you here with security. You'd be safe. Clara shook her head. No, if you go, I go. Clara. We face things together, remember? That was the deal. She touched the orchid necklace at her throat. Besides, Seattle's still going to need nurses. Maybe I can do some good too. Adrian studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. All right, but we do this smart. We go in quiet, fix what we can, then we come back here. Together. Together. They flew back to Seattle 3 days later. The city looked the same but felt different. Clara half expected to see Derek around every corner, but he was gone, really gone. Adrian set up a meeting with the surviving crew leaders. Neutral ground. No weapons, just talk. Clara went with him. She stood by his side as he negotiated, mediated, and occasionally threatened. By the end of the week, they had a tentative peace agreement. You're good at this, Clara told him as they drove back to their hotel. At what? Leadership, not the crime part, but the bringing people together part. You could do a lot of good if you wanted to. Adrian was quiet for a moment. You know, my sister used to say something similar. She thought I wasted my talents on the family business. What would you do if you could do anything? I don't know, maybe something with urban development, helping communities. I've got the money, the connections. I could actually make a difference. So why don't you? Because men like me don't get second chances. We get what we deserve. He pulled into the hotel parking lot and killed the engine. I've done terrible things, Clara, hurt people, destroyed lives. I can't just walk away from that. Maybe not, but you can choose what you do next. Clara took his hand. Derek made me believe I deserved the abuse, that I was too broken to deserve better. You helped me see that wasn't true. Now I'm telling you the same thing. You're not too broken for a better life. Adrian looked at her with such raw emotion that Clara's breath caught. I love you, he said, simple, direct, true. Clara's heart raced. Adrian. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. But Clara realized she did want to say it back. Somewhere between the first text and the burning estate and the flight to Italy, she'd fallen for this complicated, damaged, surprisingly gentle man. I love you too, she said. They kissed there in the parking lot as the Seattle rain started to fall. And for the first time since the night Derek broke her ribs, Clara felt completely whole. They returned to Italy a week later with a plan. Adrian would slowly divest from his criminal operations, sell off territory, pay off debts. It would take years, but eventually he'd be clean. In the meantime, they'd split time between Italy and Seattle. Clara would work with a free clinic in the city. Adrian would start a legitimate business helping rebuild struggling neighborhoods. It wasn't perfect. There were still threats, still enemies who remembered what Adrian had done, but they faced it together. 6 months after that first desperate text, Clara stood on the terrace of the Italian villa watching the sunset. Adrian came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "About how I typed one wrong digit and changed my entire life. Do you regret it?" Clara touched the orchid necklace, thought about everything she'd lost, everything she'd gained. "Not for a second." Adrian kissed her neck. "Good, because I was thinking we should make some changes to the villa, maybe add a garden, something Alina would have designed." "I'd like that." They stood there as the sun sank into the Mediterranean, painting the sky orange and purple and gold. Two broken people who'd found each other in the darkness and decided to build something beautiful from the wreckage. Clara's phone buzzed, a text from her brother Ben. "Hey sis, been thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay wherever you are. Love you." She typed back quickly, "I'm good, really good, love you too." And she meant it. For the first time in years, she was actually good. Adrian pulled her closer. "Come on, I'm making dinner tonight. Real Italian pasta, my grandmother's recipe." They went inside, leaving the terrace door open so they could hear the waves crashing against the cliffs below. And somewhere in heaven, maybe Alina was smiling. Her death had given her brother the chance to save someone, to find love, to choose redemption over revenge. One wrong number, one desperate text, one dead woman's phone ringing in the darkness. And from that, a new life, a second chance, a future that neither Clara nor Adrian had expected but both desperately needed. The orchid necklace caught the light as Clara moved through the kitchen, helping Adrian prepare dinner. Delicate but strong, survivors helping survivors. Just like the flowers in Alina's garden, they would bloom. Thank you for watching Clara and Adrian's story of survival and second chances. Would you risk everything for a stranger who texted the wrong number? Drop a comment with your location and tell us, could broken people truly save each other? Subscribe for more thrilling stories. See you in the next one.